In the summer of 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, something deeply unsettling began to happen. It started with one woman. Her name was Frau Troffea. One morning in July, she stepped into the street outside her home and began to dance. There was no music, no celebration, no audience. She just danced. At first, neighbors laughed it off. They assumed she was drunk, joking, or acting strangely. But the hours passed, and she didn't stop. By nightfall, her feet were swollen, her body was exhausted, and still she kept moving. She danced through the night. By the second day, people were no longer amused. By the third day, she was bleeding, and then others joined her. Within a week, dozens of people were dancing in the streets of Strasbourg. Men, women, young, old, all moving uncontrollably, all unable to stop. They danced until they collapsed, and then they stood back up and kept dancing. This became known as the dancing plague of 1518, and no one could explain it. As the number of dancers grew, fear spread through the city. Some cried out in pain as they moved. Others screamed for help while their bodies refused to obey them. Witnesses described people shaking violently, their faces contorted in terror. Many begged to be restrained. Some had to be held down by friends and family just to give their bodies a moment of rest. But even when restrained, their legs continued to twitch and jerk. The dancing was not joyful, it was frantic, desperate, uncontrolled. Some people danced for days without stopping. Others danced until their shoes fell apart, and some danced until they died. Contemporary accounts describe deaths caused by heart attacks, strokes, and sheer physical exhaustion.
The city was watching its people dance themselves to death. Authorities were desperate to respond. Doctors were consulted, but medicine in the 16th century had few answers. After examining the dancers, physicians concluded that the cause was hot blood, a condition thought to be triggered by excessive heat in the body. Their solution was not rest. It was more dancing. City leaders believed the only way to cure the dancers was to let them dance the illness out of their systems. So they did something that sounds unthinkable now. They built a stage, they hired musicians, and they encouraged the dancers to keep moving. Fiddles and drums were brought into the streets. The dancers were placed on platforms so they could move more freely. Crowds gathered to watch as people stumbled, convulsed, and collapsed in rhythmless motion. This decision only made things worse. More people began dancing. Eventually, authorities realized they had made a terrible mistake. The music was stopped, dancing was banned, and the dancers were taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus, a saint believed to cure neurological illnesses. There, they were prayed over, blessed, and sprinkled with holy water. Some were fitted with red shoes, symbolically marking their affliction. Gradually, the dancing began to slow. By late summer, it stopped. Roughly 2 months after it began, the plague faded away as mysteriously as it had appeared. But the damage was done. Historians have debated the cause of the dancing plague for centuries. Some have suggested ergot poisoning, caused by a fungus that grows on rye and can induce hallucinations and convulsions. Others argue mass hysteria, brought on by stress, famine, disease, and religious fear. Strasbourg in 1518 was under immense pressure. The population faced crop failures, starvation, outbreaks of disease, and relentless superstition. Many believed divine punishment was real and imminent. In a society already on edge, fear itself may have become contagious. A psychological collapse spreading from person to person until bodies followed minds into chaos. But no explanation fully satisfies. Ergot poisoning does not explain the coordinated movement or duration. Mass hysteria does not explain the physical endurance or fatalities. The truth may be something stranger, or something we still don't understand. What makes the dancing plague so disturbing isn't just how bizarre it sounds, it's that it happened. Documented, recorded, witnessed. Hundreds of people dancing without music, without choice, without control. It reminds us that the human mind and body are not as separate as we like to believe. That under the right conditions, fear, belief, and stress can rewrite reality.
and that sometimes history doesn't offer answers, only warnings. In 1518, people danced until their bodies gave out, not for joy, not for celebration, but because something inside them broke, and no one knew how to stop it. This wasn't entertainment. This was a plague, and it belongs in WTF History. History doesn't always give us answers. Sometimes it only leaves us with silence, and that silence is the most unsettling part. This is WTF History.